interesting kind of music to play, and it's a really unique playing situation. The main component to this really is that we're trusting each other's creative intuition and our own artistic process, but it's based on a process that I call deep listening, where really what we're doing is listening very deeply and with a whole body and mind to what's going on around us, and using our experience and our artistry to respond to that and contribute to it together. In some sense, we really don't know what's going to happen next, and that's part of the joy of the music. It's a little scary sometimes, but it's really a very worthy opportunity, because what ends up happening is kind of miraculous. We have this music that just kind of appears. It begins to have a shape and a life and a form, and as each of us contributes to it, it starts to take, almost to me, like a three-dimensional sculpture. It's like a sculpture of sound that's happening. And as each one of us contributes, the whole sculpture shifts and turns and moves, and kind of together we give rise to this. And so it's a really beautiful form, and there's some shaping to it. I mean, we have some idea of a set of sections. There's some text that I've been using that has been very important for me, meaningful to me. We use that as kind of a framework. And the audience, I think, really enjoys what's going on.
It is you.
As somebody who likes this kind of music, likes to see it, but also likes to perform it, you know, it makes you want to listen and get deeper in the music, almost to the point where you want to guess, or like, man, if they could play this now, or we could do this now. You know, as an audience member, I think that's very unique. It's keeps you on your toes, and it's always changing, it's always new. And I think audiences, like you said, respond really well, or leave the concert wanting more. Or
that was the thing I noticed when we played, is people were just really like smitten with what had happened. I mean, we all came away from like, oh my gosh, what was that? And that can really only happen when there's a spontaneous creation, I think.
What I love about it is that no matter what your musical background, whether you have no musical background and you're there as a listener and you just love music and you love to listen to music, or if you're there as someone who's a novice or someone who's highly trained, like all of us are. And we have audience members who come from kind of that whole, every walk of that, right? People who come out of curiosity, and then people who come to see their colleagues or whatever. But the thing I find that's the common thread for all of them is everyone is surprised at the outcome. Because, you know, people who are novice are saying, I don't know how you do that. I mean, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that with your voice, or I don't know how you do that with your instrument, or how do you do that if it's not planned? And it's funny to me, or interesting to me, that really well-trained musicians are saying the same thing. How do you do that without a score? How do you do that without planning it? You know, and so I find that people are particularly smitten by the fact that we don't plan it. I mean, we get it, we get a text, we kind of get, you know, a very minimal amount of instruction from you, but we just kind of go with it. We have to really listen to each other, and we have to see, you know, what Norm's input is to what I've done or whatever. And I find that that's the same with life, you know, really is the same with life. I mean, nobody plans their life. If they do, they're in for a big surprise, right? Because it never goes the way you plan it. But life becomes more and more rich because we collaborate on life. Some person comes into our life and changes the direction. Next thing you know, because and that's the way this ensemble is. Because when Jay plays something interesting, Norm listens to it and goes with that, or Ullman listens to it and goes with that, and we pick up on it, and then we find the piece taking a whole new direction. And I think it's very, you know, parallel to life, but also it's a really open form for anyone, no matter what their walk is, or no matter what their music prowess is.
Yeah, one of the things I found really interesting was that we all come from these pretty different backgrounds. We have similarities musically, but we also have some different things that we're able to draw on from different things that we've heard over our lives. When we're performing in something that's, you know, straight jazz or straight classical, we're drawing on a very particular set of ideas. But this it's just so open to so many things that are coming from you, your experiences, and then mixing that with everyone else's experiences. It's just an amazing thing how all that comes together.
Yeah. It's not only open but accepting. I think that's a key.
Yeah,
That's very important.
It's a key factor. If I don't agree with what you're saying, well, we might have a not as pretty as an outcome, or as an equal outcome as if I take what you're saying and work with that.
Yeah,
or
I mean, there's definitely moments in that performance where you interjected a theme and it completely shifted the entire direction of the piece, and that's true. All of us did that. One of the things that occurs to me is that you can take someone who's a completely inexperienced person musically, would not consider themselves a musician, and actually they can contribute and have a fulfilling experience in this way. And at the same time, there's something to be said for training. You were talking about how this applies to life, and I think in a lot of ways, the more that we train ourselves as people, in whatever way makes sense to us, when we develop skills of mindfulness, of compassion, of awareness, of open-heartedness, presence, when these skills get developed, and they can be developed, then in the chaos and confusion of our lives, we have more skills to bring to bear to that life. And so when I'm playing music with you folks, I mean, I can definitely feel that there's a lot of what you were just mentioning. There's so much music that's been internalized between all of us that brings that to bear.
Yeah. And just the sort of interaction of everyone. And frankly, as a musician, that's one of the things I live for. I'd much prefer to be on a stage working with people than by myself. And in this situation, it's so much more interaction. And you're really drawing upon other people's experiences, musical and life experiences, in addition to your own.
Right.
It's an amazing feeling.
And it is those musical experiences, I think, or our own unique musical experiences that make this, to really overuse a word, unique. Because, Kim has the jazz background, and my background's classical voice, opera. But, for both of us as singers, text is really important. So one of the things that I do when I'm given this text from you, when you choose, what you want us to sort of sing about, or talk about, or shout about, whatever we may feel in the moment, right? I'm looking at importance of text, important words, and that is what informs me. What gives me, what informs me to be improvisational with. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to take the word and improvise on the word and, but
unless you do.
Unless I do. But it's going to be, a word that is important to me, and that may be different for me than it is for Kim, or it may be different for me than it is for someone else, or someone that we pull up from the audience. And it's interesting because then you see this other person's perspective, and then that makes you go, oh, well, yeah, that's important too, So I like I'm with Norm. I really like collaborative group experiences, especially with musicians that are people that I highly respect and have a great deal of affinity for, as not only people but as musicians, and I think that's one of the things that makes me love this ensemble so much. That totally takes me out of my comfort zone.
Well, I have to say, the kind of things that you and Kim came up with were just amazing to me. I mean, it's, you know, listening back to those, that performance we did, it seems really inevitable. You know what I mean? There's a lot of moments in that music that just feel like that had to happen that way. Like there's no way that could have been any different.
Right.
And I remember playing it and feeling like, okay, what's going on here? And really having the antenna out and that uncertainty and that's all part of the electricity that gives that music its life, I think.
Yeah, it definitely has an electrical life about it, for sure.
Yeah, and
A buzz.
Remember that was the first time we all saw the text
Right.
at the performance.
Right.
I don't know if I had a copy of the text. I had enough instruments I needed to man to have a stand with the text, but I was able, the text helped me out a lot to play what I wanted to play.
And see, and I don't even know, do you have text, Norm?
I believe I did have.
Oh yeah,
text.
everybody
See,
gets the
okay,
same
all right.
score.
And
It's all English.
And I was not, you know, staring at the text the entire time. Of course, I'm just kind of looking and then hearing what you guys are doing with it and reacting to that, and letting the text also guide maybe some of my improvisation.
Right.
I wouldn't say that I was improvising on a text for you know, lengths of time, but at moments I was thinking of looking at that text and saying, I'm going to play something that if I were singing, I would want to hear out of this text. So
It definitely gives us,
another
it gives us too a feeling of real sections, you know, like there's a musical world that begins to create, and I've titled this all now Flower Garland, right? So it's like a garland of flowers, and so like each little movement is its own flower, it's its own experience, and we just kind of, it has its own little life that it comes to, and it's its expression, and then it gets attached and turns into the next one. You know, because that's really what this is like. And then for me, you know, knowing that next text block is there gives us some kind of organization to the thing. It does give it a kind of meaningful shape. You know, it's not just a complete free-for-all. You know, there is some kind of a heart communication that ends up coming out here in a very clear way, which is really, it's really interesting. The process is quite miraculous, I think.
It is. It is. I mean, I think anytime musicians come together and everybody starts and ends at the same time, it's miraculous.
The voice of experience,
right?
yes.
But the fact that you don't have a score and you don't have somebody up there conducting in time and bringing people in, and that it just sort of becomes this very organic thing that has its own life, and you're just a you're just an instrument of that, is what makes it, I think, special.
Could you, I would like to hear from you all, like what is it like for you when you're in that space, we're on the stage, the people are here, the lights are on, and you all know what that means as professionals, and yet exactly what's going to happen is not clear.
Right.
And then something starts to happen. Now, how do you take that in and respond to it, or what's your experience like when you're in that moment?
Wow.
I mean, if you try to really put your thumb on it, can you?
I don't think I can.
Interesting.
I don't think I can, because at that moment, as we're creating, I think I'm pretty engaged in what I'm hearing and what I'm doing. So I'm not really thinking about that there's an audience out there. I'm not really thinking about, you know, what does this all mean? Because everything is very in the moment.
Yep.
So I don't think I can really pinpoint how I'm feeling, except to say that, I mean, emotionally, it's joyous.
Yeah.
I feel great joy in when it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, for me, it's exciting. It's a little, it's frightful at times. More so because of the nature of my percussion instruments. You know, they could be loud or sharp sounding, and so I always have that little voice, you know, like blend, do this. So this is like my classical training coming into play, which I value a lot. But I also value the kind of the intuitiveness, the what's the good word? I don't know, being kind of having tricks up your sleeve, so to speak, that comes from the jazz sort of tradition, you know, what to do, how to engage, maybe play with a little bit more attitude to put it a name, so give it a name. So it's you know, I have this sort of two voices, two dualities, you know, like play this, but play this way. And then on top of that, I would love to have a full array of instruments with me, but most of the time I have what fits in the suitcase or what fits in the car. So then I have to take all these ideas and then make them work with the instruments that I have.
I see.
So I mean, I guess it's really brainy on my end, but hopefully it doesn't sound brainy. It sounds, I think after watching that video, it sounds very organic, and like you said, it sounded like, yeah, that had to happen at that time.
It definitely is organic, but I also find that for me, and maybe it's just, you know, the classical singer training and the fact that it's really hard to separate yourself from your voice as a singer, and to not remember that you're not your voice, but you're a person that has a life outside of that voice. For me, especially at first, the very first time we did it, there was lots of self-doubt and lots of angst about, you know, what is this going to be like with
Well,
this?
I remember you asked me what if I had the score.
Yeah, right. I was like,
oh.
this is it? I mean, and I start sweating because I'm thinking, oh, they do know what I sound like, right? I mean, I'll try to be jazzy, but I don't know if I can pull that off, you know, so it was a very uncomfortable thing for me at first, but then once I realized that it was really going to be okay and that it was accepting whatever came out, then I began to relax and really enjoy the moment. And then the second and third, you know, times that we played together, that self-doubt kind of became less, and I realized that it was, you know, it was safe to be not the sore thumb that stuck out. That it's a safe environment to just be who I am and to let the organic nature of what we do take over and just enjoy the creative process, and enjoy listening to all of you do what you do best and enjoying what I'm hearing. So yeah, there's definitely this it's been a process for me, you know, to let go and not have to be in a situation where if it's not me in control, somebody should be, you know. and while, I mean, you are in control, you're our master, but at the same time, it's like you're not
I only nudge.
controlling us. You are, you give us, you know, a canvas and let us do what we want to in the moment. I think that's hard for well-trained musicians to do, just to kind of go with the moment, you know.
It can be.
Really.
You know, and a lot of what I do actually in the guiding moments is that there are some times where you know, some kind of a shaping needs to happen. You know,
Executive decision.
yeah, you know, and so, but you know, for me, it's really interesting because when I'm playing in this format, I find myself really unburdened. I feel incredibly unburdened when I'm playing this music,
Right.
and I feel that I can just really listen to what you all are creating, and I'm free to just let my intuition just play, you know. I mean, it can just go wherever. And so there's, in some moments, there's actually a lot of, like what you were saying, there actually is a lot of, you know, training that's brought to bear to do a lot of these things, obviously. But in the same time, there's this thing that happens, I think, where I just sort of, the line between me and the music kind of fuzzes, you know, and you just kind of, I am the music. And it's a really interesting, egoless, in a sense, kind of place that still has individual expression.
Yeah.
So it's really an interesting paradox. It's not just, it's not having no opinion and just sort of vanishing, but it's also not being filled with yourself because you're so, I'm becoming this music that is co-arising from everybody at the same time, you know.
Right.
So it's just a beautiful, to me, it really makes real, it really invokes something of reality to me. That experience is invoking, and it's being a part of the creative process of reality, actually. It's really joyful, really, and I get this giddy feeling, you know, I really do. I mean, it's very joyful.
Yeah, I think it's freeing, you know, to have this thing that's guided but not managed, you know, and we all play a part in it, and yeah, it's definitely a freeing experience.
And I really think, you know, it would have something to offer to folks who aren't musicians or who are, but who haven't experienced this kind of music. Because I think that the kind of intelligence that's accessible, that's brought to bear in this kind of way, really does translate to other venues besides a concert stage.
Sure.
You know, it's actually taking something of contemplative intelligence and being creative with that. Not just sort of passively sitting there and accepting everything, but merging with reality and engaging it creatively. You know, well, where is that useful? Where is it useful to be open-hearted and kind, receptive, and engaging in life? Well, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and so here we have yet another way, certainly not the only way, but definitely a way to kind of make an inroad into that.
Where is it for you? What's the experience like for you when you're in it?
Well, I think I pretty much just gave what voice I could to it. I mean, really, I become the music so thoroughly that there's very little me there, but ironically, there's a lot of self-expression going on.
Right.
So it's both of those, see? You know,
The
I mean,
duality thing.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
It's not, you know, for me, it's not exactly an out-of-body experience.
No,
but
you're in there.
there. I know that there's a bass under my fingers.
That's right. That's right.
Physically, I can tell.
Yep.
But at the same time, there's just so much happening that you're letting go of all that, you know. Maybe what you listened to yesterday, what music you had to play the day before. That's not there. It's right in this moment. But yet it's all this experience that I've had of listening and playing different musics over my life, and then all the experience that you guys have brought. And I'm not really, like I say, it's not like I'm out of body hearing the music, but I'm experiencing it in, sort of the way you described, this egoless thing that happens, yet it's self-expressive.
It's important that you bring up that point, because a lot of times people, I think, take a contemplative or spiritual or meditational idea and they assume that it is some kind of otherworldly, escaped the mundane reality kind of thing, and it's actually not. The real deep spiritual practices or meditation truths, Zen, this kind of thing, it has to show up right now in the body, like in real time with the sweat and the everything else, or else it's basically not real. You know, so that's what I really value about what we're doing, is we're taking these higher levels of reality, and they're showing up embodied in real time, in creative form, like truly creative form. I mean, this is, I think, one of the opportunities of being a human. We can create.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know, we're making like real-time connections,
Yeah.
but not just musical connections. I mean, forget about the music. Think about the cultures that we're embodying through the instrument itself, through the melodic, rhythmical material, whether we're conscious about it or not. I don't think we really are conscious about it at the time when it's happening. But I mean, if you could create a graph, I think you have like 2 dots or a line connecting 2 dots that goes into like 5 lines from that, and then it flips, and so I think it's like this spark thing that's always moving, like you said, the 3D sculpture that's being created. But I really value those, that it allows us to make connections.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the connection breaks, but guess what? Out of that break, something else will come out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of that was a mistake? And then how much of it was miraculous mistake?
We'll never know.
See,
There are no mistakes.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
yeah, that's exactly
There
kind
are
of the
no
point.
mistakes, yeah.
It's
And that's the beauty of not rehearsing.
Yes.
Because when you rehearse and there are mistakes, the next time you do it, your ego, yourself, gets in the way of trying to fix the mistakes that you remember doing and that you felt ashamed about, and that you needed to. You have this now. The drive is to fix the mistakes that you made, rather than getting some new and interesting experience out of it. You're trying to go back and undo the past, you know. Whereas this is just in the moment. It's present. There's no future. There's no past attached to it. It is just real time, then and there. There is no such thing as a mistake, which is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, and think about the originality factor.
Yeah,
You know, it belongs to us,
right.
and we sort of present it to the audience, but for ourselves also. It's
Problem is, we can't ever do it again.
no, it's no problem.
I don't know if we can. I don't know if we could go back and do it one more time.
Well,
you know?
no, we won't. We won't. We'll do another one.
Yes, we just
We'll
have to
we'll
keep
make
doing new ones.
Yeah, we'll make a new
Yeah.
garland of flowers
That's
each
right.
time we play, and it'll be a beautiful garland, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in a way, it's like these Tibetan sand mandalas. I don't know if you guys know those. These cats will make these really beautiful, intricate mandalas of colored sand, you know. And then when it's all there, they have the moment, hundreds of hours of effort into this, and then it's just wiped away.
Yeah.
Because it's impermanent. It's to be appreciated as it's there than to be let go of. And it is interesting what you're saying about the culture, because actually, if you just think about the instruments that are brought to bear,
That's heavy.
I mean, just even in your percussion kit, I mean, you've got traditional Japanese temple instruments, and then you've got all kinds of Latin percussion things and European instruments, kind of just there. That's going on across the stage, actually. I brought the flute out. We have got opera voice and Western voice, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely many color possibilities. Yeah.
Anything else that occurs to everybody to say as a final comment for everybody, or?
Well, I have this image of, you know, it's interesting you talk about the flower garland,
Yeah.
which that's a very beautiful image. Sometimes I think of the 4 or 6 of us walking into a dark room, completely pitch black, and we have to make it across, ideally. So it's this thing where, you know, okay, we're holding each other's hands, and none of us is going to take off and run for it, because you don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, as a unit, you know, we kind of explore this space, but we don't know what's going to happen. And so I think that makes me be really aware of, you know, all of us, make sure we don't lose anybody in the process. And, you know, we're all important, and we're all moving somewhere. We don't know where, but we're going somewhere.
It's very important too, because like this sort of egoless self-expression that we're talking about. If somebody, if we had someone with us who was a little bit too self in themselves, it's very difficult to play this kind of music with them, because they are not necessarily listening in the way that you're talking about. So it's a really unique opportunity. I'm grateful when we do get to play.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm looking forward to more opportunities for us to play together.
Right.
Yeah.